I like Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss. There! That's out of the way, so people watching the video with Hazbin and Salt in the title looking to stroke their hopefully metaphorical hate boner can now click off of the video. Granted, I've done this kind of thing in the past, and people still get upset that my opinion differs from theirs and start frothing at the mouth over the simple notion of, this isn't me! So I'm unsure what exactly an opening like this sets out to accomplish. Side of Salt is a series where I talk about things I like, but think have some flaws, and oftentimes go on semi-related rants because I'm a bad writer. Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss are two animated shorts everyone's already covered, but I was busy doing my own animation, so here we are late to the party. Both shorts have already amassed millions of views and tons of positive reviews, which means they've cemented themselves atop that perilous pillar of popular thing is bad. But seeing as how this was produced mostly by amateur creators, I feel it warrants the very simple phrase, let's see you do better. Because out the gate, whether you dislike the shorts or not, you should at the very least acknowledge how awesome it is to put out a 30-minute animated short at all, especially one that's as well made as this. So if by some chance you don't know what these shorts are, they are two animated pilots created by VivziePop, and a ton of her super talented animaty, voice acty, music creaty, buddy pal, chummy chum pals. Hazbin Hotel being the main pilot, with Helluva Boss being an in-universe spin-off of sorts. Let's start with Hazbin. Hell's overpopulated because people suck. The short follows the tale of sad Pandette being sad because jackasses in hell are being purged. Being the princess of said arses makes her feel semi-responsible for the whole super death going on. With the aid of her trusty smooch partner X marks the lore, she sets out to rehabilitate the poopy people and make them good so they can go high-five Jesus instead of biting the curb to his angelic agitators. So if you didn't realize, because a lot of people online sure didn't, this takes place in hell. The people here have gone to hell. This is hell. So you know, it's bad. It's a bad place with bad people doing bad things. This lady right here says she doesn't like to touch the gays, and people complained about that. People complained that the bad person in hell said a bad thing. This isn't limited to Hazbin. I honestly don't understand why bad characters can't be bad anymore. So anyway, surprise surprise, the dick weasels think the idea is bad, and Spider Boobs, the one who was the supposed poster child of rehabilitation, is still being a fart nugget. Oh no, now the plan's messed up, until the character Tumblr Wantafug, Cherry Edition, shows up to be like, I fix, and then he fixed, and the episode end. Oh, also there was this snake eye in Sexy Cyclops. This was created by a multitude of different artists and animators, and as such, the style is subject to change in multiple ways. Whether it's from the stylistic scenes in musical numbers or exposition dumps, or background art. Amber, I love your art and everything, but goddamn, during this scene it was just like, look at it! Look at it! Look at it! It's not bad, it was just very eye-catching. Sometimes the differences in animation and line work are very noticeable, but this has actually been going on a lot in recent tunes, whether it's Steven Universe or even the recent Invader Zim special, having a kind of tweeny rig-based scenes for certain parts. To an animator, they probably stick out, at least they do to me. But I don't think it's really an issue for most viewers. It's a little more noticeable in this tune too, since some of the people just kind of have a higher skill level in animation and better understanding of complex themes. But again, if anything, this makes it more like an official cartoon, because this is just a web pilot version of bringing in James Baxter to animate something, and having even non-animators be like, wow, that shit looks great. Unlike the rest of the— with so many people on the project too, I'm sure some things just fell through a la telephone. Even in the beginning, you have the line, the highlighted bits are the best parts.
It's all highlighted.
And then, there's no highlight. Where are the highlights, Vivzie? She said she doesn't touch the gays, but then she touched a gays? Well, which is it? Honestly, I feel like most people are putting this short on the same level as professionally made pilots. And that's kind of where a lot of the flack comes from, because psst, shit like that highlight bit doesn't matter. I mean, you got stuff like the new Powerpuff Girls that comes to TV, so fuck. My only actual complaints on the show have been approached before, so I'll be brief. I think the sound effects could be toned down, which is weird too, because in previews, there are a lot less sound effects.
Sad and pathetic, like an orphan with no arms or legs. With progeria. Sad and pathetic, like an orphan with no arms or legs. With progeria!
So apparently near the end of production, someone just went through and made sure there was no silence and no snappy action left without a sound buddy. I do still enjoy some of them. A lot of the time they do add punch to an action, but other times they can be rather distracting. On the subject of sound too, sometimes the instrumentals or sound effects can be a little loud, making it difficult to actually hear the lyrics. This mostly comes out in Charlie's musical number. The other thing I felt was a little off was just how much they tried to introduce. Being a web pilot with no set guarantee of further episodes though, I can understand the process to wow with a slew of characters. But because of this, you don't get too much focus on the main cast. There are hints of change they may go through, but it seems more of an afterthought. Personally, I think it would have been better to have the first episode strictly focus on Charlie, Angel Dust, Vaggie, and Alistair. It's not to say I don't like the other characters. Nifty's adorable, anything involving Stamper is great, but they don't really need the focus that they get. The first scene with the turf war probably could have been shelved for a different episode. The newscast of the battle would have been enough intro for them and still allowed them some screen time. By pushing back Nifty and Oscar, you probably could have had some more trio-focused moments to further flesh them out. But hey, that's just a quick idea and is obviously less marketable. I've seen complaints that the series is just sex, laugh, which I don't agree with. True, that may be Spider Boob's character, but characters are allowed to have a shtick. I actually think it's better to start with the shtick being almost obnoxious because it allows for much more growth. Kind of opposite of The Office, where Kevin started as just a somewhat slow worker who was still talented but not given opportunities due to stereotypes, but throughout the series was cemented in as the dumb one. Angel Dust could easily start as sex laugh, but has the entire series to grow into something more. Most of the humor for me actually came from the character movement and visual gags. The only swear joke I really laughed at was Charlie saying bitch, because even though characters have been swearing nonstop already, it had attention drawn to it despite being a really mundane insult. Most of the sex or swear jokes could still be funny even without lewd or crass wording.
And what can you do, my effeminate fellow?
I can pet your tummy.
Ha! No.
Honestly, the aesthetics are what I think drew in most people. The hotel itself looks fantastic, and many character designs are just fun to look at. I do feel like some are a bit over-designed, but it's possible that's just the animator and me screaming, knowing how difficult it had to be for those working on the projects to keep things looking as well as they did. Because if you didn't know, more lines equals more work for animation. Then, a month later, you got to see the other passion project, Helluva Boss, which I enjoy more as a standalone short. But Helluva is more set to be episodic rather than have a long-running story. Plus, Invader Sim says the F word! So yes, Helluva Boss actually has some big names attached to it, but that should never really be a selling point. After all, this isn't some animated movie trailer where it's like, Blitzo is just a hard worker, but when business is down, he'll have to pick his partners up. Starring Richard Stephen Horvitz as Moxie.
This company is such a mess.
Erica Lindbeck as Luna.
Then I don't want it!
And Bran Rogers as Blitzo.
Sorry, I fucked your husband.
You know these actors consume the movie. God, I hate modern animation trailers. The story for this one follows IMP trying to raise morale in business. Since it only focuses on these 4 characters, they kind of grow on you a little more. It's a shorter episode, but I'm already more familiar with this cast than has been. The jokes feel a lot more natural in this one, and again, they'd still probably be funny even if they didn't say the fuck word. It can get a little obnoxious with the pacing, especially when you get a flashback within a flashback. But ultimately, I just found it more enjoyable. It was actually kind of nice having the characters keep their red theme, but the backgrounds have more of a cooler color scheme. It really just made the main cast pop. Like when they're in the doctor's office, not only does this still look like a professional cartoon, but your eye is immediately drawn to the cast. Whereas in Hazbin Hotel, they can kind of get lost in all the red. There's a lot of red. That's red, he's red, she's red, me's red, fuck. All in all, both are great shorts, both are decent pilots, both have plenty done well, and both have things they could improve on. But again, it's just still so amazing that an amateur studio of a bunch of pals could produce something of this caliber. I look forward to more, and I suggest you watch them if by some chance you haven't. And if you were watching this hoping I would dish on some drama, get a life.